be? That's okay for starters. For some of you that weren't with us last night, so let me just take a few moments to share with you a little bit about my background. Prior to joining FLP, my background was in farming. I was farm estate manager. I used to train horses, and I had a wonderful way of life. I had the 2,000-acre estate. I had a beautiful home. I had cars on the drive. I had horses in the stables, and I thought life was absolutely amazing. And then one day, my marriage unfortunately went wrong, and I found myself in a very different situation where I was surviving day by day, trying to bring my children up best I knew how, but without an opportunity to do anything to improve my life. My lifestyle had been taken away from me. And that hurts. And there was a time during those difficult months where I often wondered, would anything ever come into my life that would make a difference? You know, I was looking for that elusive business, the one where you could work really, really hard for 2 or 3 years, develop a good 6-figure income, and then work part-time and watch the business grow and grow and grow. And I didn't think something like that existed. But we got a phone call from our friend Chris, and he started sharing with us the power of forever. I must admit, when he first started talking to us, John didn't quite get it like I did. He didn't quite get it. But it was really funny because there was something that Chris said that just resonated. Something that he said that made me say, well, I need to go and look at this business. And he spent about 45 minutes sharing with us the power of forever. And I remember it quite clearly. We met up for a cup of coffee, and in the UK at that time, we didn't have any professional sales literature. Chris took out some information that was photocopied and written in Chinese. So you can imagine it was quite hard to catch the vision of an opportunity when it was all written in Chinese. But he did something that really caught my imagination. He took out a blank piece of paper and he began to draw the circles. Has anybody had the circles drawn to them? The concept of network marketing. How did you feel when you saw them? Did you feel, thank you, did you feel empowered by it? Because when I saw the circles, I just saw it in a heartbeat. I thought, this is it. This is how I can build my future. I didn't understand it, but I knew that this was something that could allow us to achieve all the things that we wanted to achieve. We got registered in August of 1993, and I remember investing in my combo box, getting the combo box home, putting it on the kitchen table, looking at it and thinking, oh my goodness, what have I done? And as I opened the box and began to take out the products, and John and I were looking at them and thinking, what does this do? What does that do? And then we got to a bottle of this. Now, I hadn't got a clue what it was, and I looked at it and I read it and I thought, oh well, no idea what you do. So I opened it and I poured a huge glass, and I took my first ever sip of aloe. Can any of you remember your first sip of aloe? Well, I have to tell you right now, I was convinced that our sponsor was trying to poison us. I said to John, there is no way we are going to build a business with something that tastes that awful. I rang up Chris and I said, Chris, is this a joke? What am I supposed to do with this drink? He said, well, I don't know, Jane. He said, but just drink lots of it. You'll feel great, have more energy. You'll be so powerfully revved up and wanting to build a business. So I thought, yeah, right, okay. But you know, we began to use the products on our family. And our youngest son was a chronic eczema and asthma sufferer. And for 10 years of his young life, he was covered in eczema. 70% of his body was covered in it. He used an inhaler 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day. And we were advised by Dusty to use the propolis cream, the bath gel, and to get our son to drink the product. Well, I have to tell you that using the propolis cream was no problem. Using the bath products was no problem. Until I asked my sweet 10-year-old to take a drink of this. And he took his first drink, and I won't repeat what he said, because I thought I had brought up a very polite young man, but he certainly wasn't polite for just a moment. However, we had begun to see the benefit of drinking the aloe, and what I had to do was bribe my son by paying him $1 a day to drink it. You see, he's going to be a real savvy businessman as he gets older. But you know what was remarkable? Within about 3 months, 10 years of eczema and asthma had all but gone. And let me tell you something, when you see the products, working to that degree, you see a little boy that had suffered for 10 years with a skin problem, you see that all cleared up, you kind of get a deep down burning desire to go out and explain to more people the power of the products and the power of the business. So that's exactly what we did. And in August of 1993, our first bonus check was £37. $55. That was an interesting bonus check. But you see, I'd fallen into a trap because in the first month, all I'd done was go out and retail products. I thought that's what you had to do, go and sell aloe vera. But in my second month, I realized it's not just about me selling aloe vera, it's about finding a few people who also want to catch the vision of forever. And I began to build a team. We all began to use a bit, sell a bit, and sponsor a bit. And in our second month, our bonus check raced to a huge £57. About $95. Well, this is where I started pestering Dusty and saying, you know, Dusty, you said that this would be a business where we could earn some really decent money, and my bonus check was $95. So he said, you know, Jane, what you've got to do is just go out and continue sharing the products, sharing the opportunity, and helping others do the same. And it was about at the end of our second month that we realized something. It was far better to become a manager and work off 48% than to stay as a supervisor and work off 38%. So that was when we set our goals to become managers. Our next bonus check was £186. $330 odd. We went assistant manager. And in our fourth month, we made the position of manager, and our bonus check raced to £618. Just over $1,000. Now, it was at that time that we began to realize that being a manager means that you have to begin to structure a business. The next month, the bonus check raced to £1,680. $3,000. We were pretty impressed with that, and I have to say we had a really good Christmas in December of '94. However, something then happened that made us completely review what we were doing and how we were doing it. And that was in January of 1994, our bonus check was only £700. About $1,200. But the month before it had been $3,000. Now, I would forgive anybody for maybe beginning to question the business. Question the products. Question network marketing when their check had been $3,000 one month and $1,200 the next month. But you see, I'm not one for laying blame at the feet of anybody else. I was the one that was big enough to say, I'm doing something wrong. John, what do we have to do to make this better? And it was in that month that we decided that if we were going to build a good business, then we had to become the leaders that others would want to follow. We sat down, we spent 2 days drawing up a business plan, making some very, very serious goals. And 2 months later, the bonus check was £2,500, about $4,600. So it had gone from $700 to about $4,500 in 2 months. And that was the beginning of our road to success with Forever. By the end of 1995, we were top distributors. We'd achieved the car plan, we'd been on our first rally, and we were well and truly committed to building a huge business. The last 10 years have been a complete joy. We have had an amazing time. Not only have we built our own business, but we've reached out and touched other people and helped them to build their businesses as well. And the purpose of today is to reach out and touch you in the room and maybe give you some idea of what we do and how we do it. If there's anything there that interests you, then take it and use it. And if there isn't, then don't. But the one thing I will guarantee you is if you apply a simple, duplicatable system, if you have a deep down burning desire to achieve, if you will follow a simple program and believe in this company, your life will be the most remarkable life ever. You will have whatever you want. But it all has to start on day one with you learning how all the components come together to begin to work a simple system. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to John, who's going to take you through the first part. And what I will say to you is, please take lots of notes. The reason I'm saying that is because the bluntest of pencils remembers more than the sharpest of minds. I can promise you, if you don't take a note, by the time you leave this room, you will have forgotten 20% of what you heard this morning. Come tomorrow, you will have forgotten 50%. And come next week, you'll probably only remember a few things. So take notes. Now, this is where the men all nudge their wives and say, get your pen out and take notes. Wives, nudge the men back and say, take your own notes. Remember, the bluntest of pencils remembers more than the sharpest of minds. Finally, I'd just like to say to you, we would love you to have a fun day. And you're only going to have a fun day by participating. And we're going to get you involved in the whole day. So participate, have fun with us. And I know by the end of the day, you'll begin to get an idea of how we build our businesses. And I'll hand you over to John now.
So let's have some fun today. It's not a lecture, it's interactive. All right, we'll get you out of your comfort zone. Those of you who perhaps hope that you would just settle down in a seat and be invisible, it will be interactive. We will get you out of the comfort zone. But our intention really is to move your knowledge forward in a practical sense. You should leave the room today with things that you can immediately apply. Isn't that what you want? Not a load of theory, not a lot of motivation, but actually hands-on, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to say. Okay, we're in the people business, aren't we? Yeah, you hear that? You heard that expression? We're in the people business. And you will come into contact with a lot of people. If you don't, you're in network marketing, not network marketing, all right? You come into contact with a lot of people. And one of the things you find with people is that they make assumptions about other people. Have you ever had that situation where you've walked into a room, you've looked at somebody and taken an instant dislike? Anybody ever experienced that, or is it just me? Yeah? Now, guess what happens? There are certain physiological things that happen, and they're looking at you, and they see it in your eyes, and they think back, I don't think I like you either. And in a very short time, you've got World War III happening between the two of you, and you didn't even exchange a word. And then perhaps at a later stage, you get to know the person, you talk to them, and you find, either to your surprise, that they're nothing like your assumption, or it confirms your worst fears. Anybody ever experienced that? Yeah? Hello? Is there anybody out there? So the key to that is to learn to ask questions. Now, what most people do in terms of communication, they can't wait to hear their own voice. Have you ever talked to one of those people? They're waiting for a breath pause so that they can interject. They're not really interested in talking to you, they're interested in talking at you. They don't want to have a conversation with you, they want to give a lecture to you. So we have to develop the skill of intelligently listening. And the best way to remember that is you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, preferably use them in that sort of ratio. Okay? So if you learn to ask questions and then actually listen, don't wait to talk again, actually listen to what they're saying and make a note of it, that will be valuable to you. Information and knowledge is so valuable. And if we're in a people business, the more information and knowledge we have about other people, the better. Does this make sense? Yeah? Okay, so what we've got a little exercise here. If you open your manuals, communication is the key. And we've got a little exercise here. Name and background. When did you join FLP? What attracts you to network marketing? What do you want to achieve? Why is it important that you achieve it? And what we'd like you to do, please, is to interview somebody else in the room who you don't yet know. None of this comfort thing, you know, I'm sitting next to my best friend or my partner, all right? Go and talk to somebody you don't know, and I would like you, please, to ask them those questions and make a note of the answers. And then when we tell you, you can swap over, and the other person then interviews you. All right? It's very simple, isn't it? We're going to give you 5 minutes each way. Right? There may be a bit of movement in the room so that you get to somebody you haven't yet met. And the time starts now. Welcome back. Did you find that interesting? Yes. Yeah. Don't you just find out a lot of stuff about people you haven't yet met? They're very interesting, aren't they? And the other discipline, of course, is to stick to the purpose and not get distracted. Did anybody get into a situation where you started talking about other things? Yeah? I do love your hair like that. You know, that sort of thing. Where did you go on vacation? All that sort of stuff. And it's the discipline of must be Amway equipment, I think. It's the discipline of sticking to the purpose in hand and remembering why you're asking the questions. Okay, does that make sense? Your story. Every good networker learns to develop a story. It's a succinct few sentences which describe... I mean, anybody in the room ever been asked the question, why are you doing that FLP thing? Yeah? You have had very few. Haven't talked to enough people. Okay? Have you never had that? Oh, yeah, but why are you doing it? And the worst thing is to stand there and go, or some stupid, inane response. All right? So if you're going to be a networker, you should have an automatic response mechanism where if I woke you up at 3 o'clock in the morning from a deep sleep and said to you, why are you doing forever? It would come out. I mean, if I asked you your name, you have an automatic response mechanism, don't you? I know 1 or 2 people you meet have a challenge with responding their name, all right? But normally, most people can just go just like that without thinking about it. And a good networker should develop an automatic response mechanism in terms of their story. And a story really consists of a few components. It will include your background, your challenge in life prior to meeting forever, your introduction to FLP, and finally your vision of how FLP will answer that challenge, or how it has answered your challenge. Let me give you a simple example. We've got a guy in our business called Mike. Mike was an engineer in the motor car industry in the UK. I don't think it's any secret that the motor car industry in the UK has been dying on its feet for a number of years. And his wife Anne was a teacher. And when we first started with Mike, we developed with him his story. And it ran something like this. Well, as you know, my name's Mike. I've had 18 years in the motor manufacturing industry. Got very concerned because I could see it going downhill. Anne's been a teacher for too long. Just got fed up with crowd control. And all my life, I wanted an ocean-going yacht. But, you know, as an engineer and a teacher, I couldn't think of any way of getting that yacht. And then somebody introduced me 6 months ago to a company called Forever Living Products. And now I can definitely see Anne and myself on that yacht in the near future. And that's really why I wanted to get together with you and tell you about Forever. Of course, these days, Mike has a different story. He's not talking about his future vision of what it can deliver. My name's Mike. I was an engineer, 18 years in the car industry. And my wife, teacher. I could see the car industry going down and got fed up with crowd control. I'd always wanted a yacht. And then 4 years ago, somebody introduced me to a company called Forever Living Products. And you know, that yacht is now moored in West Wales. And Anne and I are living the life of our dreams. And that's really why I wanted to get together with you and tell you a little bit about Forever. So it's either future tense, your vision of what the business can give you, or it is the present tense of you've already having achieved it. Short, simple, narrowed down to a few sentences. Then if you're on a plane or on a bus, or just talking to somebody, you have your story just like that. And I would suggest all really good networkers know their story. And it comes out just like that. And you praise it down. We did some work with a group a few years ago now, and one of the ladies was a medical doctor. And we asked her to develop her story. Well, after about 23 minutes, where we got to the stage where the cat had died, and then they'd had a leak on the plumbing, you know, it was really a question of who would die of terminal boredom first, she or I. And we whittled it down, and we whittled it down, and we whittled it down. And then her story became, you know, my name's Mary. For about 14 years I was a medical doctor. And I got very concerned with what the pharmaceutical products were doing to people. You know, I became very concerned that perhaps inadvertently I was causing more problems than I was curing. I couldn't think of any way to get out of being a medical doctor. I mean, what am I qualified to do other than that? And then one day I was at a party and I was talking to somebody and they mentioned a company called Forever. Do you know, I'm currently planning to give up my medical practice in 6 months' time. And that's really why I wanted to talk to you about what Forever maybe can offer you. You see, there's a world of difference between boring somebody with your life history and actually having a story with a purpose. Does this make sense to you? What I would urge you to do, if you haven't already done it, is to develop a powerful story. Write it out longhand. If we had more time, we would be doing that today. All right? But I would urge you, if you want homework, something that will help you enormously, develop a really good personal story. All right? With those essential components, your background, what your challenge was in life. I'll give you another one. Pete Kemble, one of our managers. Pete Kemble was a vet for 30-odd years. And his testimonial, his personal story came down to, you know, my name's Pete. I've actually been a veterinarian for 30-odd years. And my wife, Hazel, she comes from a riding, equestrian background. And I'd always planned to retire at 60. That was the game plan. And I'd actually been very prudent and saved for that event. But what happened, the returns on that sum of money dropped like a stone. And in 7 years, I saw those returns drop by 44%. And I suddenly realized I'd have to remain a veterinarian until I dropped dead. Because I expect a great deal out of life. Couldn't think of any way of solving it. And I thought I'd done my time as a vet. And then somebody introduced me to a company called Forever. And you know, within 2 years, I was retired, living the life of my dreams. And really, that's why I wanted to get together with you today, just to show you what could be in it for you. I've heard Peter deliver that over and over and over again. Short story. You know, it should take about a minute and a half top. All right? Again, it's having a conversation with a purpose, isn't it? If you can work on that, it will repay you over and over again. Okay. You practice it, use it in prospecting. I use it in my one-to-ones, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, your story. One of the things we know in network marketing is that people have to get their minds right. All right? This is 97% what happens in your head and 3% of what you actually do. And so very often people haven't got their mind right to participate in what we do. And I don't know if you've ever noticed the great athletes, say they're doing the 100 meters. You ever see them before the race where they're standing very quietly and they're focusing and they're getting their heads right? And most of them, the champions, are visualizing themselves crossing that line ahead of everybody else. They've run the race in their head before they even get down on the blocks. You see, they're getting their heads right, their mindset right. I love watching Tiger Woods getting his mind right. He's focusing on where he wants to hit the ball. All right? So it's about mindset. Let's talk about developing the right mindset. It starts with understanding, doesn't it? If you're anything like me, you first come into this industry, and it's like one of those, I don't know if anybody's ever seen one of those dot pictures in a shopping centre. You ever seen those? Well, there's lots and lots of dots. And somebody says, "Can you see the battleship?" And you go, "No. All I can see is a load of dots." And you look, and you look, and you look, and eventually you see the battleship. And thereafter you will always see the battleship. Network marketing's like that. Now, it really irritated me that Jane saw it before I did. Oh, and it really, really irritated me. There she was, a farmer. And I was supposed to be the bright graduate businessman. And she could see the picture and I couldn't. So it's not a question of intelligence, it's a question of however long it takes to see the picture. Once you see it, you will see it forever and ever. So it's understanding. Is it what's this all about? All these products, what's it about? This thing called network marketing. That is understanding, isn't it? Because most of us don't understand this because we come from another place when we enter the world of forever. Where's it going to come from? Training. We have fantastic trainings in this company. Absolutely, I mean, award-winning in many sectors. We are a phenomenal operation when it comes to training our people. You have a sponsor. Their responsibility, because that's what the word sponsor has, it's the middle part of responsibility, is to pass on to you the information that's been passed to them. And the great thing is, they've probably only been in it 2 minutes longer than you have, so they've got a sponsor who's been in 4 minutes longer. And so on and so forth. There's always somebody in that line who will help you to understand what this is all about. What else can you use? Well, there's a wonderful library of books, videos, audios, CDs to help you to understand. You know, to turn your motor car, your vehicle, into a classroom. Rather than listening to a load of garbage that comes out of the loudspeakers from radio stations, why not use that time constructively to educate yourself so that you begin to understand? You find out about the products, find out about network marketing, find out about personal development. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Now, I'm not here to plug books. I'll give you an example. This book here. This book was written by two women, right, both incidentally who started off their careers in network marketing as one-parent mums. There's a lady called Jan who has 3 children, and the other author had 2. And they got together and collaborated in order to produce a book, to give people the secrets that they learned along the way. See, there's stuff out there. But whenever you're looking at anything, always ask yourself the question, do these people really know what they're doing? Because there's a lot of people who latch on to our industry as a great source for training, writing things. So always ask yourself the question, consider the source. Consider the source. Where does it come from? Do they really know? Now, one of them's Jan Rue. She's here in the States. She became a millionaire in network marketing. The other one's some girl called Jane Leach. She's with a company called Forever. See, there's a lot of good stuff out there. See, I'm not here to plug books. Yeah? I'm just here to say there is the information out there. When the pupil is ready, the teacher appears. Go and find out. Feed your mind. And of course, the other thing is experience, isn't it? It's a hands-on doing business. I hate it when people do PhDs in this business. They're forever, not doing forever, but forever doing research. Because until I've read 198 books on aloe vera and its properties, until I've read all the books there are on personal development, until I've read all the books there are on network marketing, I'm not ready to start. Now, the easiest way I know to learn this stuff is to do it. Earn and learn at the same time. Guess what? Along the way, you will fall flat on your face. Your success will be built from your failures. Jane and I have probably failed more than most people in this room. That's all it is. How do you learn to be good? By trying, by being brave enough to have a go. All right? What they say, good judgment comes from bad experience. Just be brave, go out there and do it. And that will improve your understanding. From understanding, of course, we get belief. We talked last night, didn't we, about belief. Belief in network marketing. Network marketing's had its rogue elephants along the way. It's had its less than ideal companies. You show me a sector anywhere in the world that hasn't had those things. A major sector. And this is a major sector. You know, I see all sorts of figures banded around, which usually encompass direct sales and network marketing. Reliably, I know that this industry does in excess of 46 billion turnover at wholesale. That's a big sector. $46,000 million is a lot of money. You know, it's not a corner shop, corner store. This is a big industrial sector. It's growing like crazy, with or without you. You can either choose to be in the right place at the right time, or you can choose not to. Your choice. Now is not the time to be getting into Rubik cubes, you know. This is the time to be getting into network marketing. This industry is now where franchising was a few years ago, and look at that. I can remember when questions were asked about franchising as a doubtful thing to go in. Now every single street in every town has got franchises on. Network marketing has gone through its adolescence. It's gone through its pimply stage. All right? We're now established, and this company is the flagship company in that industry. Trust me, because I've looked at them all. You've got to have belief in the products. You've got to have belief in the products. Technical training, very short. Rub them on, munch them, and glug them back. End of training. How do you get to know these products are great? By using them on a daily basis. Replace the inferior products in your home wherever possible with a superior product from Forever, which of course you buy at wholesale. Don't you? Right. Belief in the products. You'll also get that belief back from your customers, because customers can be brutally honest, can't they? And I tell you, it's so reassuring when somebody comes back to you and says, this product is absolutely fantastic. It's changed my life. What does that do to your belief systems? When Freedom came out, we didn't have anybody in our family who had an osteoarthritis type problem, but we had some customers who did. And when they came back to us and said, this product is sensational, it has changed the quality of my life. Guess what that did for our belief system? Use of the products is where your beliefs come from. The company, Forever Living. Well, I'd become a student back in 1993. When we started this, I became a student of network marketing. I wanted to find out who was out there. What were we up against? I've looked at every single company I can find. Not with a view to leaving Forever, because that would be insanity. But, you know, it's prudent, isn't it, to know what you're up against. They don't come close. This is an awesome company, driven forward by philosophy. The thing that drives most great companies forward. It's not just the bottom line, it's philosophy. And this company has an outstanding philosophy, outstanding integrity. They do the best that they know how for us and for the general public, for the customers. You can't ask any more than that of a company. And they've done it consistently now for almost 27 years. I know you Americans are a lot more extrovert and self-confident than we Brits, I'm sure. You're not. You're just like us, and you're just like everybody I've ever met around the world. And the reason why people have low self-perception is because of the training program that they've undergone from birth. That's the reality. You know, I'm a parent. I've got 4 kids. Lots of people who are parents in the room, yeah? And inadvertently, in order to protect our children in a very dangerous world, we tend to bring them up on a diet of mustn't do, shouldn't do, couldn't do. Because we love them. We want to protect them. They go to school and they have a diet of mustn't do, shouldn't do, couldn't do. Because otherwise the teachers would go totally insane, wouldn't they? Then you get a job, just over broke. And you're told all the things you mustn't do, shouldn't do, couldn't do. And you become one of Pavlov's dogs, with respect. The bell rings, you go in. The bell rings, you can have a break. The bell rings, it's feeding time. The bell rings, you can go home. The bell rings, you get 2 weeks off for good behavior. You get up in the morning, you turn the television on, you turn on the news, which should be done under the Trade Descriptions Act, because it's not the news, it's the bad news. Anybody heard the news? Have you ever heard anything really good? Anything wonderful to cheer you up? You get a diet, war, pestilence, plague, you name it, they hit you with it. And then cheer yourself up, you open a newspaper. Well, if you thought the television was bad, now where they've used a few words, you've got thousands of them. And then you go through your front door and you're expected to go, isn't it a wonderful world? Don't I have a great part to play in it? You've got no chance. So what we do in Forever, we build people's self-confidence. We build their self-belief. One of the real joys, the thing that absolutely excites the heck out of Jane and me still, is seeing people, it's like watching a flower open up. There's this tight bud, and suddenly this beautiful thing happens, and people grow and develop. So you've got to get belief, and the understanding will feed the belief. The belief, of course, will feed commitment. Commitment is so important. Time, one of the commitments. Time. I hate it when people say, I'll give it a go. I'll see how it goes. If I'm not earning $5,000 a month in 3 weeks, it doesn't work. It takes a little time. I would suggest at least 1 year. It takes 1 year for this to begin to make some sense, to see whether FLP will work for you, but more importantly, whether you will work for FLP. It needs time. This is why so many people give up on so many things. They decide they're going to go and get fit. They go down to a gymnasium. They do a few of those. They go, oh, that hurts. I'll tell you what, I'll take up another language. They get to declension of verbs, and that's a bit difficult, so they go, I won't do that. I'll tell you what, I'll take up yoga. Then they find they can't put their ankle behind their head. And their whole life is giving it a go. Give it a go. Right? It's not a give it a go business, it's actually do it business for at least a year. Commit to doing a who do you know list. It's absolutely fundamental. Who do you know? Because everybody's got one. That's how network marketing is built. I have people, and I'm sure none of you have experienced this, where people say, I don't mind who I talk to as long as it's somebody I don't know. Really? How interesting. Who do you know? Stock and inventory. Now, we're not talking about filling up garages with stock, but you do need some stock. You do need some products. You cannot build a forever business based on just having used a tooth gel. It doesn't work like that. You have to try some products. You know, and the reason why I talk about inventory is only, I run this as a business. Yeah? And basically, very quickly with your customers, you'll know the products that sell on a regular basis. So we carry a little bit of stock, not much, But enough so that somebody says, can I have 2 gels? And you go, yeah, there they are. Give me the money. Thank you. All right? Not I'll order them and wait for the product to come and then arrange to deliver. It's just time efficiency. It's a commitment. And you've got to commit to being teachable. Commit to being teachable. Being teachable is so important. You know, Jane and I were working with a lawyer. And she and her husband, real nice couple. They had a real need for this business. Their lives were going down. And she'd been in about 3 weeks. And every time we said anything to us, she said, I know. I know. I know. I know. And Jane and I are looking at each other and going, she doesn't. She doesn't. She doesn't. Because if she did, she'd be doing it. And she's not. She's not. She's not. And we had to part the ways because she was a know-it-all. A know-it-all. You see, you may be a very bright person, I'm sure you are. You may have some wonderful qualifications. You may even have been a real top performer in your chosen field. But in this, you come to us as a child. Be teachable. Learn this stuff from the people who know how to do it. Does that make sense? You know, if I was a trainee dentist, I wouldn't go in and after 20 minutes go to the dentist, well, get out of the way, I can do this one. That's what people do in our industry. Because it's very easy to get in. They think it's easy to do it. It's simple. It's not easy. It's simple. So make a commitment to being teachable, to taking on board the things that you need to take on board. That, of course, leads to action. This is network marketing, not work marketing. All right? There are only 3 things, really, we need to do, and anything else is a tidy desk, ladies and gentlemen. We share the products with other people. We sponsor people. And then we teach them how to do the first 2. We're coaching them. That's it. That's the good news. Right? To build a business, that's what we do. We retail some products, we sponsor people, and we teach them how to do the first 2. By coaching. We get them competent. That's the action. What does that give us? Results. Results. Now, recognition. Very big part of what we do, isn't it? You know, and as a rather cynical middle-aged businessman, when I first joined Forever, I said, forget about the bunch of flowers and the pat on the back, give me the check. What I very quickly realized was that people thrive on recognition. They grow on recognition. Because they're starved of it out there in the normal world. Is that true? Most people only get recognition when they've done something wrong. And we major on recognition. That's why when you see people being recognized on the stage, the very first time they're a bit shy because they're not used to appearing in public. Have you ever seen this? And they go up for their recognition. You know, and they've got butterflies in the tummy, sweaty palms, all that stuff, and they go, oh, all those people. They come off the stage and they go, I can't wait to go back up there. Isn't it true? People will perform for recognition. Time. Time. And the money to enjoy it. You know, for me, that was a big, big thing. Big, big thing. I'd had the unfortunate experience in my corporate days. I had to go to Mexico City. There's nothing wrong with Mexico City, and I was in a beautiful hotel. But I also took a phone call from my 10-year-old son saying, Dad, it's my birthday, where are you? So I was the corporate dad who was never there. I was in the office when they woke up. I was in the office when they went to bed. Sports days, prize givings, are you kidding? Didn't know how to get out in those days because we found Forever. And the pleasure of the time. Our son, who used to have the asthma, he became an international rugby player, rugby football. And he used to stand there on a Wednesday afternoon. I was the only dad. Where are all the other dads? Locked away. Time. And the money to enjoy it. And that brings me on to the final thing on that. Results. Money. Can you all repeat after me, please? Money. Money. Doesn't that have a nice ring to it? Yeah, we're brought up, aren't we, going, oh, money is wicked. Money is the root of all evil. It's usually actually rich people who say that because they don't want you to take it away from them. All right? There is nothing wrong with money. Money, the love of money is wrong. Money can do a huge amount of good. Think of all the good things you can do with money. For the people you love, your family, and for other people. There's nothing wrong with money. It's only the love of money which is wrong. And most people lead lives of quiet desperation, I would suggest, where there is never enough money for the month. That's the reality. They struggle by, they get in debt, and they finish up their lives broke. Broke. That's most people. All right? So there's nothing wrong with money. Of course, when you get the results, it builds your understanding, which feeds your belief. You make bigger commitments to take bigger actions, you get bigger results, and it goes round and round and round and round, and it gets faster and faster and easier and easier. What that means is when somebody first joins Forever, that's the toughest time. Because you don't really understand this stuff, do you? And then somebody goes, oh, you're not involved in that. Pfft, you're gone. Why are you gone? Because your belief systems are weak. You build those belief systems and you make that commitment. You take the actions. Be a little brave. Get some results. This is possible. And as it goes around faster and faster, you actually begin to enjoy it. This is why I couldn't understand when I first joined Forever. There were people saying, it's fun. I thought, this looks absolutely terrifying. Hello, what? Develop the right mindset. And it'll be driven forward by your why. Your why is absolutely critical to all of this. Your why is critical to all of this. If you don't know why you're doing it, you won't do it. Or you'll do it as a warm feeling, and then one day you'll have had a really tough time at work, because most people start this part-time, don't they? Yeah? And I know you will have a great time at work, those of you in jobs. I know that the alarm bell rings and you can't wait to get there, can you? Yeah? And then, is it time to go home already? You fight the traffic, right? And you're going to recycle yourself to come out and do what we do if you're working this part-time. You know, and you get in, and home looks very inviting, and there's your favorite program on the television. If you don't know why you're doing it, you won't do it. You'll do it during that first flush of enthusiasm, but that'll quickly fade, and then you won't do it. You go, well, just tonight I won't go to the meeting. I won't go to the training. Because the armchair looks so comfortable, and there's a great program on TV. If you don't know why you're doing it, you won't do it. The why, of course, is very, very personal. That is ringed around. It's ring-fenced, if you like, by your attitude. Your attitude. I hate to say it, but some people's attitude is so bad, they only brighten up a room when they leave it. Anybody ever experienced that? Somebody walks through the door and the sun comes out. Because they have a lousy attitude. Stinking thinking. It's a habit which they've worked very hard to develop. Jane and I have done trainings on attitude. We spent 3 hours on attitude, and as people have gone out to the coffee break, I've seen people go, don't think much of this hotel. Attitude. Get it right. You've got to have an attitude of being prepared to pay the price. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. I think that was coined in the US, wasn't it? You've got to be prepared to pay the price. And so many people join Forever and think, well, I registered, I bought the box, where's all the money? You've got to pay the price. There's a thing economists call opportunity cost. In other words, when you're doing this, you could be doing something else. Is that true? You've got to be prepared to pay the price. There is a price to be paid. It doesn't come free. But in terms of the price you pay and the returns you can get, it's the best investment I've ever seen in my life. Nothing on the stock market pays the returns that this does. You've got to have that attitude of having an ability to accept change. You will not be the same person in 10 years' time in forever that you are right now. Fact. You shouldn't be the same person because you're not a finished product until you draw your last breath, I would suggest. You know, it's so great once you accept that change. I said to Jane the other day, I really can't wait to see the guy who you will be with in 6 months' time. It'll be me, but not me as I recognize me, because I will have moved on. You change, you grow. Forever isn't the same company that we joined 10 years ago. It's moved on. It evolves. You evolve. That's why we all stay alive. And anything else that doesn't move and evolve is dead, isn't it, technically? It's dead. I have to have the ability to accept change. When people say, oh, it's just the way I am. No, it's not. It's the way you chose to become. What you've created, you can change. It's an attitude. And having a vision for the future, your future. Having a vision of what your life can become. It can become anything that you can visualize. If you can visualize it, it can become that. That's an attitude. You've got to be consistent as well. Your why is ring-fenced when you become consistent. And you have to be consistent in the business disciplines. Share the products with some customers, sponsor some people, coach people how to do the first two, attend the trainings, etc., etc. Those are business disciplines. And you've got to be persistent. How long do you continue to do this until you get the result you want? How long's that? Different strokes for different folks, isn't it? It's a different journey for each of us. Persistency. Strong desire for the goal. You know, what I call a real gut wrencher. Yeah? It's a burning thing in your stomach. That you will not be denied the things that you want in life. Why should you be? Why should other people have those things? Is there some sort of divine right that says they should have it and you shouldn't? Of course you can have it, if you're persistent enough and you're prepared to pay the price. Never give up. Never, never give up. The only people I've ever seen fail in this company have been the people who give up. My golly. I could quote you case after case after case of people whose sponsor gave up, left the company and disenfranchised themselves and their family from the right to receive income streams forever. Never give up. You never know when you're going to bump into a future diamond. Never give up. Never, ever give up. Persistency. And you've got to prioritize your activities. I think Jane touched on the fact yesterday about all the things in life that get in the way. You know, if most of us are working this part-time, we have families, we have other commitments, etc., etc. Prioritize your activities. We used to have a phrase when we first started, did I ring the till today? Do you remember the old-fashioned stores where they had a cash register with a bell? Did I ring the till today? Did I do something today to move my business forward? Even the little thing. Touch your business every single day. Be persistent. Prioritize the activities. Get rid of the things that actually may be comfortable to do, but don't necessarily achieve anything. Right? Prioritize. Persistency and a sense of urgency, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I've heard it said so many times, this is not a race. Really? Well, I have 1,440 minutes in a day. How about you? Of course it's a race. It's a race against the clock, isn't it? It's the same clock that we're all racing against. It's not racing against somebody else, it's racing against yourself. And when do you want the good things in life that you deserve? Would you like them during your lifetime or during somebody else's? It's your choice. I have a very simple philosophy. If I can have something really great in 5 months or 5 years, difficult choice. Sense of urgency. Get on with it. Do it and do it now. That's the key. Do it now. Don't procrastinate. That's what most people do. They don't get round to it, do they? Get on with it. Have a sense of urgency. And lead by example. Lead by example. Don't ask other people to do what you cannot do. Learn how to do it and then lead other people by example. You drive a business forward from the front. Anybody tried reversing a car? Is it easier or more difficult than driving the car forward? It's more difficult, isn't it? You can't push your business from the back. You can only lead it by example. How do you do that? Get good at what it takes to be somebody who's building a business. How do you do that? Probably get it wrong, fall on your face over and over and over again until you get it right. Don't give up along the way. Sense of urgency. And that really completes the circle. That ring fences your why. That leads us on to the marketing plan. The marketing plan, the means by which we get rewarded. And I love this little bit of paper here. You know, there's everything on there from a few $100 a month to a few $100,000 a month. It's disarming, isn't it? One piece of paper with a complete program on there for you to change your life. And most people, when they look at a marketing plan, because most people aren't digitals. I'm a digital. I'm very numbers orientated, but most people aren't. I find that incredibly exciting. Most people are not that way. They're visuals. They go, what? Because they're not used to going into a store, are they, and being asked for 18% or 30% or 30 plus 5 or anything else. That's not the language that they're used to being involved in. So we're going to go a little bit later into the visualization that most people can take on board rather than that, which is just a load of figures. Very exciting figures, life-changing figures, but, you know, it's very digital, isn't it? People like accountants get incredibly excited by that stuff. Yeah? I do. I'm a businessman. But most people will not be excited by that. Okay. There is something that underpins the marketing plan. 4 CCs. 4 CCs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you over to my other half, my senior partner. I shared with you last night why she's my senior partner. Right? 14th of August 1993, we decide to say yes. Jane gets her pen out a fraction of a second before me. She is the first signatory on the agreement. Therefore, all the bonuses are made out in her name, which means that I have to be nice to her every single minute of every single day for the rest of my life, which is no hardship in terms of how I feel about that lady. Will you please welcome Jane Rich?
How are we doing so far? Good. Okay, the marketing plan. I have to say, when I first looked at that schematic of the marketing plan, I didn't understand it totally on day one because I'm number dyslexic. So I'm not very good at percentages and figures and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that I did have pointed out to me, that the marketing plan is developed and grown through a business discipline. And that business discipline is something that we call the 4 case credits. Now, when you're very first new in this business and you don't understand what a case credit is, and you don't understand what the point system on the products is, it would be understandable that when you hear that to build a business you have to be 4 cc a month personally active, it could be a little bit concerning on day one. It would be unfair of me to say to you that I thought it was going to be simple. Because I looked at 4 case credits and thought, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to do that? What I have realised is FLP are very generous. They make no requirements of you. They actually say this is a free enterprise business. You can do what you want, when you want, with whom you want. But the only thing that we ask you to do is that you build a 4 cc a month personal business in order to earn your downline bonuses. And I took a step back and thought about that for a moment, and I thought, well, if that's all I've got to do, in order to build my business to pay me a bonus every month. If that's my personal requirement, I better learn that, and I better learn it quickly. Because there's no way I'm going to miss getting paid because I haven't mastered a simple process. So I made it a habit to do 4 CCs plus every single month. And in the 11 years I've been in the company, I have never, ever missed 4 case credits. In fact, I do maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 case credits personally every single month in a heartbeat, don't even think about it. I do it at the beginning of the month. I don't leave it till the last day of the last minute to put in that final order. It's a business discipline. Do it quickly, and teach your people how to do it as well. So let's have a look at the ways that we can build a 4cc a month personal business. Well, obviously we can use the products. It would be fair to say that we do need to become our own best customer. Have you ever found that it's simpler to retail a product to somebody if you've got internal personal belief? It's so much easier to recommend something from the heart rather than from the textbook. Because people can tell when you're talking from the heart. They can feel it, they can see it. So use the products, become your own best customer. We need to develop a regular customer base. We need to develop a customer base and look after them, nurture them, love them, give them the attention and the focus that they don't get in the shops. Now, I have to say in America that the service that one gets in the States is phenomenal. There's always someone to help you. It really is phenomenal. But in the UK, we don't get good service in the shops. So therefore, my philosophy is, if I give my customers the very, very best care and attention, they will stay with me for a long time. And ladies and gentlemen, I've still got customers today that started buying the Forever range of products 11 years ago. Still buying from me today. And that's because I genuinely care about the benefits that they pick up from the products. Also, part of doing 4 case credits is learning how to sponsor. How to introduce other people into your personal business. That can become part of your 4 case credits. And then, of course, we coach other people to do the same, so we have a whole organisation of everybody doing 4 case credits. It's a business discipline. So let's break that down a bit, shall we, and have a look at how we can work out the volume of doing 4 CCs. Now here's where I'd like to have a volunteer from the audience, please. Matt, you'll do just fine if you could run up here and help me. Give him a big hand. Do you want to go to the board? Use a pen. What we're going to do is we're going to work together on looking at where volume comes from, personal volume comes from. Now, when I first work with a brand new distributor, the very first thing I do is I'll sit down with them and I will go through their combi box as part of their business planning process. And I will show them how to exchange everything in their home that they may be buying from the high street with our amazing range of Forever Living products. So I'm going to teach them to become their own best customer. Now, I know that everybody in this room clearly uses a lot of products because you all look so well. And that is a good sign. But you give me a little bit of feedback here. How many case credits would you say that you do a month by personal use? 2. We're going to have an average here in a minute, Matt. What we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to just make some notes on the board in a minute. But so somebody at the back said 2 case credits a month. Anybody else? 1.5. About 1.5? 2? 1.5 with 2 people. Anybody else? You use about 1 a month? 4? Anyone else? 6 a month, personal use. Would it be fair to say, would you agree with me that probably on average, the average household would use between 1 and 2 case credits a month personally? Okay, so we put personal use up there, and then 1 to 2 case credits. So become your own best customer. Try everything. Don't hold back on trying the products. When you use them and believe in them, you will naturally go and talk to others. Let's have a look at some of the other ways that we can create volume. We can do something called a business launch. Now in the UK we've developed a program whereby that we can invite a group of people around for a cup of coffee Now, what we find that by doing business launches, we can do anywhere personally between 2, 3, 4, 5 case credits a month because we use the business launch to help us personally sponsor. It's a very quick, effective, and duplicatable way of moving product. Product through sponsoring people, which becomes personal volume. So maybe we can put down on their business launch, and I would suggest that probably if we're sharing the business to a group of people, that we could sponsor maybe 1 or 2 people a month that way. Would anybody agree with that? Yeah? So maybe we can put down 2 to 4 case credits there. Business launch, 2 to 4 case credits. Okay, what about a product launch? How many people in this room are familiar with the power of the product launch? The product launch is where we quite simply invite maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 of our friends round for a cup of coffee, maybe one evening or a coffee morning. We have a demonstration of the Forever products. We take about 45 minutes to explain the benefits, let them try the products, and then we quite simply take the orders. Now, this is a really integral part of building our business, and certainly for us, we expect every new distributor, when they start in the business, to be doing a couple, if not 3 or 4 product launches pretty quickly. Now, how many people in this room have done a product launch? Okay, what kind of case credits do you normally move doing an average product launch? Well, how many, roughly? About a case a product launch. About 2. 2 to 3. Anybody else? 10. Anybody else? About 2. I think it would be very fair to say that a good product launch, if you are planning it properly, and I'm going to go into a bit more detail in a minute about how effective these are and how we truly believe in them, I think that a product launch, a good product launch, will average you between 1.5 and 3 case credits per average. Now, of course, we have the product launches where you can do 10, we have them where you can do more, but they're more the one-off. I want to look at where we can average our business out so we can begin to look at how we can develop volume, regular personal volume. So maybe 1.5 to 3 case credits per product launch. What about just talking to people? TTP, I call that talk to people. You know, when you're out and about and you just engage in conversation and you just happen to slip the benefits of aloe into the conversation, and before you know it, somebody's wanting to look at the products and you've got an order. I mean, just last night alone, I got into conversation with a lady after the training, and we got chatting, and before I knew it, we were talking about the Forever Freedom, and she wants to buy some Forever Freedom for her husband. It was a 2-minute conversation, and I have her details to arrange for her to get some products. How much product would you say that you retail a month purely by just taking every opportunity to talk to people? About 1? 4? Anybody else? About 2? Anybody else? Bless you. I have a product for that. See me later. I think that it's fair to say that you could probably retail, just casually engaging in conversation with people, whenever you've got the opportunity, between maybe 0.5 to 1 case credit worth of products a month. What about repeat business? Now, this is phenomenal business. This is the easiest business that you'll ever have. This is where someone rings you up and says, hey, that's an amazing product, please can I have some more? We're very committed to developing a strong customer base in the UK, and certainly in our team. And we teach and train everyone to have between 20 and 30 regular buying customers. These are customers that you look after and buy every 4 to 6 weeks, come what may. So I know, for example, that my customers give me between 2 and 4 case credits a month repeat business. Business I don't even have to ask for. How much would you say that your repeat business gives you? Anybody? 3? 3? 2? Anybody else? Do you have repeat business? Okay, what are you getting from it? About 2. Okay, would it be fair to say that repeat business you would get, if you're working on it and understanding the power of looking after existing customers, between 1.5 and 3 case credits a month? Well, this is yes, this is no. Would that be a fair comment? Right. nights, 1.5 to 3 case credits on repeat business. What about referrals? How many people ask for further business? Yeah? Okay. Referrals is probably the easiest way to get new business I know of. And yet most people I know of don't ever ask for further business. Here's what I do. If I have a customer who's particularly happy with the products, what's your name, please? Shirley. Let's say that Shirley's one of my customers, and Shirley has been using the drinking gel, maybe for a digestive problem. And let's say that Shirley's particularly happy with the product. I'd engage in conversation with her, maybe on her 3rd or 4th pot, and I would just ask her if she's happy with the product. You are happy. You're very happy, and you're getting the results that you're looking for. Fantastic. And here's what I do. I say, Shirley, how would you like your next pot of aloe vera gel free? People love that word, free, don't they? And I say, well, let me show you how you can do it. You love the products, right? And you're really happy with the results, right? Do you know 3 people who you think would benefit from these products? You do. Would you mind if I contacted them and sent them some information on the products? Is that okay? You're one of my customers, so you're quite happy with that. And so I actually then contact the people that she's recommended to me. They buy products. And of course, as a thank you, I give her a free pot of gel. And let me tell you, I have so many customers that have referred me on to others because they're happy with the Power of Forever. The best way to develop a customer is through personal recommendation. Because let's say that Shirley has said, yes, I have a friend called Alma. And Alma, I know, would love these products. She works really hard. She's always tired. And I know she'd love the benefits of the product. So I give Alma a quick call. I say, hi, Alma. You don't know me. My name's Jane Leach. But a very dear friend of yours, Shirley, has suggested I give you a call. Do you have a moment to talk? Sure. I've been working very closely with Shirley recently, and I've introduced her to a range of products which have made a phenomenal difference in her life. And I asked her the other day, Shirley, who do you know that might benefit from aloe? And she said you might be open-minded enough to have a look. Now, we've got an incredible range of products that can help with energy, with stress, with digestion, with the skin. They help you look good, feel great. I wonder if I can pop around and show you the products that I'm working with. So I go around, I show her the products, she's a happy chappy, she buys some products, all because Shirley said give her a call. Now, how easy is that? Referral business is dead simple, but only if you ask the question. So I think it'd be fair to say 1.5 to 3 case credits a month through referral business. But if you don't ask, you don't get. What about gifts? Anybody in this room have a birthday? Well, I'm pleased about that. Anybody know anybody in this room that has a birthday? Any day. Has anybody ever given FLP products as gifts? Do you give them for birthdays and Christmas and Easter and Mother's Day and Father's Day? You know, there's no point going to spend your money in the shops to find a present for a friend or a loved one. Why not give them a selection of Forever products and help them catch the vision? I'll share a little story with you. I have a very dear friend called Sue. And Sue wasn't interested in the business. I gave her a look and she said, no, it's not for me, Jane, but good luck in all you do. And I said to her, well, you know, Sue, I happen to believe in you. I happen to think you've got a lot of the values we're looking for in FLP, and I'm never going to stop asking you. She said, okay. And I thought, okay, I've got to find a different way in. So anyway, it was her birthday, and I gave her a pot of aloe vera gel. And she said to me, I'm not going to drink it. She said, but I will give it to Vince, my husband, because he snores, and hopefully it will help him stop snoring. It's a really incredible story. So she gave the product to her husband, and about 5 weeks later, she rang up and said, can I have some more? So I thought, this is interesting. So I sent her another pot, didn't mention the business to her at all, and about 3 or 4 weeks later, she rang up and said, could she have some more? So by now, she's had 3 pots of aloe vera gel. And then I said to her, I said, you know, Sue, why are you buying these products off me at retail when you could become a distributor and buy them at wholesale? So I sent her along to the product centre to collect some products for herself. And while she was there was a lady in the product centre who was massively excited because she just made supervisor. And Sue didn't understand what was going on, so she came home, rang me up and said, Jane, what's going on? What's this supervisor position? I've just met somebody in the product centre who's really excited. And it was incredible. Everybody was recognising her and making her feel good. What do you have to do to be a supervisor? And I said, Sue, you don't want to build this business. You're not interested in doing that. She said, I am. And I thought, I know. So I sat down with her, showed the business. She's now a manager with 3 managers in her team. But she said no to the products. You have to find a way to get into people. All I did was give her a gift. She didn't want it. She gave it to her husband, stopped him snoring. She thought, there must be something in this. What about exhibitions or shows or fetes? I don't know how that might work here, but at home in the UK, we have school shows, school fetes, we have county shows, we have all sorts of things going on where you can go, put a stand up, people come into the show, they get talking to you, you can sell products, and you can also sponsor people. That's a great way of doing volume. It's not something you can do all the time because clearly shows aren't going on all the time. But I do know that you can do anywhere from sort of 3 to maybe 10K credits just by having people come and visit your stand at an event. If we put 3 to 10 there. Gifts is about maybe half a case credits a month. Now what about what we call mini combos? Does anybody know what mini combos are? Is that the same terminology here? Do I have a mini combi on here? Mini combi. Is this a mini combi? Okay, I'm going to show you what I do with a mini combi. Mini combis, I think, are a very, very powerful way of building a business. And this is something that we use a lot in the UK. What we do is we all recognise that we know people who are very busy. People that are too busy to come to a product launch. People that are too busy to meet up and have a cup of coffee with you. Is that right? We all know those people. But we want them to try the forever products. So what I do with these is I lend them to people for 2 or 3 days. These are my marketing tools. So let's say that I have a friend called Alma, and Alma just can't see me. She's too busy. She can't come to a launch. She can't do anything. But I wanted to see the product. So what I do is I run round to her house and I literally leave the products with her, with a product video, with a product brochure, with a price list, and I say to her, play with them, you enjoy them, and I'll pick them up in a couple of days' time. Now in the UK, we don't have the Propolis cream or the Freedom in the mini combi, so we put one of those in. And I have 4 of these out every single week. I lend 4 a week out to people to look at the products. So they play with them, they wash their hair, they drink the drink, they watch the video, they see how amazing the products are, they look at the brochures, and when I go and pick it up and take it away, they say, don't take it. Or they say, can I order some of that? And what tends to happen is, when I go pick up the box, they maybe want a gel and a shampoo and a tooth gel or a lips. So I leave the product out of the box for them, and take the box back, top it up, and then go and give it to somebody else. And I tell you, it's such an amazing use of time. Because if those people can't come to me to an event I'm doing, I want them to see the products. What I also find is if I use this box properly, that people are then interested in the business as well. You see, whatever way I can get product and business in front of people, I will do it. And I've heard people say to me, but this box, it costs about £50 or about $80, $90. I don't know how much it is here. 132. And I say, so? If you left this box with somebody and they spent $100 with you just by leaving that box, would that not be a good return on that investment? And then if you picked it up and you gave it to somebody else and they then spent $100 with you, would that not be a good return on your investment? So, you know, we in the UK, in our team, we make these boxes work for us. These boxes are to develop volume, to give people the chance to try products who may otherwise be too busy to come to an event. So we tried to give out 4 of those pups a week. Now, I know that I've got a girl in my team who does 10 case credits every single month just by giving out pups. But let's just say that we're not that good. Let's say we can only give out 1 pup a week. 1. That's 4 a month. And that we only get a $50 order. That's still $200. That's still between 1 and 2 case credits a month just by giving out the pups. Would you agree? So if we look at that 4 case credits, which sometimes when we first join the business we may find a bit daunting, if we look at it now, we've had it explained, and my lovely assistant is going to add it all up for me. If we look at it now that it's been explained, and we can show our people all the different ways that we can do 4 case credits, we suddenly realise that on average, possibly by using any one of these methods, we could do personally between 12 to maybe 29 case credits a month. And I haven't even talked about the clean and lean. So is there anybody in this room now who doubts that 4cc, who doubts that they can't do 4cc's? But it's not about can you do it, it's can you teach it? Because it's all right, can we teach? Because if I can't teach, then we don't have a business. We have what we call a linear business. In other words, we can do it, but we're not showing others. People need to be shown. So one of the reasons that we do this is to show people that 4 case credits actually is a very simple process to do. The beauty about it is it puts cash in your pocket. And when people first join this business, what do they need? They need